So I've been making content for a while now, and I keep asking myself this question that's honestly been driving me a little bit crazy. Why do some creators just click? Like you watch their stuff and immediately you're like, oh yeah, this person gets it. And then there are others that have all the information, perfect lighting, expensive equipment, but something feels off. I thought maybe it was having the perfect setup or some sort of algorithmic hack. But then I had this realization that completely changed how I think about content creation. And it came from the most unexpected place. It wasn't from a marketing guru or a content strategy course. It came from watching a fucking lot of movies and studying how those movies work. Watching how directors like Tarantino and the Russo brothers keep the audience glued to the screen for hours. And when I applied these storytelling principles to content creation, everything just clicked. So today in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I did it so you can apply it too, including a Venn diagram framework that I developed and specific steps that transformed my content from boring lectures to conversations that hopefully people actually want to have. Are you ready? Let me tell you how it happened to me. I started creating content because I had things that I wanted to share, but every time I sat down to make something, I'd freeze up. There are already a million people covering this topic way better than I ever could. So I tried to be the expert. I researched everything to death. I'd try to sound authoritative and professional. I'd use big words and industry jargon because I thought that's what people wanted. And my content was fine, it was correct, it was polished, but it was boring as hell. People would watch, they'd leave a polite comment, but there was no real connection happening. No one was messaging me saying, oh, you changed how I think about things. No one was sharing it with their friends. I was stuck in this weird space where I wasn't shit, but I definitely wasn't breaking through either. Then I started to think how I can binge watch through hours of Netflix shit, but I can't get through one educational piece of content without getting distracted. So what was the difference? I started studying directors like Tarantino and Wes Anderson and the Russo brothers, the Avengers guys. Those people, especially the Marvel people, really know how to keep people's eyes glued to the screen for hours. Because entertainment doesn't try to be authoritative. Entertainment tries to be engaging. It doesn't lecture you, it takes you on a journey. So I started breaking down what makes good storytelling work. And I realized there's basically 3 types of characters in any story. The expert who already knows everything, usually some sort of a mentor figure that shows up and occasionally drops wisdom, like think Dumbledore. The character that's just interesting to watch. Think a character that is entertaining because of who they are, not necessarily what they know, like Hagrid. And the protagonist on the journey, the character we actually follow and care about. Obviously, that would be like Harry Potter. In the books, he doesn't know much at all. We're learning to be a wizard with bro. But here's the thing, most content creators try to be an expert, but nobody wants to follow the expert for the whole story. The expert is boring after the first scene. Like sidebar, I actually would want to watch an entire movie about the Dumbledore origin story though. Because here's what I realized, calling someone the protagonist sounds so academic, like we're trying to analyze a story. But what if you changed it? What if we rebranded it just to the main character? Don't you want to be the main character in your content? Doesn't it sound like a good idea to be the main character? That's who we already are in our own lives. You're the main character of your story. That's when I started building this framework for content creation. I made this Venn diagram with 3 questions. What can you talk about forever? What will people actually watch? And what can you actually shoot with your resources? Your topic is the intersection of all 3. And here's what I was doing wrong before. I was focusing just on the middle one. What will people watch? I'm chasing trends and topics that I think are going to perform well, completely ignoring whether I can talk about them forever or execute them consistently. So no wonder I'm burnt out. No wonder my content feels forced. It's anything but natural. The conflict is real. I want to make content that matters, but I'm approaching it like a classroom instead of like entertainment. And that's when I have my breakthrough. The breakthrough moment came when I stopped trying to be the expert and started just trying to be the main character. I was watching someone else's videos and I noticed something. I was engaged and he wasn't positioning himself as the person that knew all the answers. He was positioning himself as a guy on a journey who was documenting what he was discovering. Instead of saying, this is the definitive guide to content strategy, he would say, I just figured out this thing that's been working for me and it's kind of crazy. Same information, completely different energy. And I think that's when it clicked for me. I don't need to be the wise mentor character. I want to be the friend who's just a couple steps ahead, and I'm looking back at my other friend, giving them advice, saying, hey, this is how you catch up. When a friend finds a really good restaurant, they don't try to sell you in the restaurant by talking about the chef's pedigree and the culinary practices and where they source their ingredients and all of these facts. They're just like, dude, you have to go to this place. I went last night and it blew my mind. It was hella good. And that's way more compelling than any expert review. We want to see the journey, not the destination. So I started approaching content differently. Instead of saying, here's how to grow your audience, it became, here's this thing I figured out about helping to grow your audience and it's worked for me. Instead of intentionally trying to sound like I have it all figured out, I started sharing my discoveries in real time. And something magical happened. People actually started engaging. They started sharing their own discoveries. They started asking questions, not because they saw me as some unreachable expert, but because they saw me as a friend who's on the same journey as them, but documenting it on the way. So the conversations were no longer lectures, they were just that, conversations. So here's what I figured out about finding your voice. Your voice isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most relatable person on the journey. And sometimes the most relatable thing that you can do is share what you're figuring out as you're figuring it out, instead of waiting until the end when you feel like you've mastered it before you show up and open your mouth. The framework I built, that intersection of what you can talk about forever, what people actually want to hear, and what you can repeatedly generate, that's your sweet spot. But here's the key, you have to be honest about all three circles. What can you actually talk about forever? Not what you think you should be interested in, but what genuinely fascinates you. What do you find yourself reading about, watching videos about, and having conversations about when no one is directly asking? What will people actually watch? In my experience, it's literally anything. There is a niche and there's an audience for any interest. YouTube Shorts alone has 200 billion daily views. So if you really love Monsteras and you have Monsteras, there's an audience for that. You could just do that. You could be the Monstera person. It's fucking cool. This isn't about trends. It's about understanding your audience and what type of problems are they actively trying to solve, or what type of entertainment are they authentically seeking, and what can you execute over and over and over again. This is the most common reality check. You might love talking about travel and love traveling, and people love consuming travel content, but if you can't afford to travel regularly, then you can't produce travel content consistently. For me, I realized I can talk about the creator economy endlessly because I am genuinely interested in how people grow their audience and how they monetize their knowledge. People want to watch this type of content as well because they're genuinely interested in how they can build an audience and create something in 2025. And I'm able to execute it consistently because I am literally living it. I'm building my own thing, so I constantly have new discoveries to share. But here's the most important thing. I stopped trying to be the guru and I started being the guide. The guru says, I have all the answers, follow my system. The guide says, I'm figuring this out. Here's what I've discovered. Come along if you want. People connect with guides way more than gurus. Guides feel accessible. Guides feel human. Guides are the main character in their own story. So if you are struggling to find your voice, start here. Stop trying to be the expert of everything. Start being the main character of something. Use the Venn diagram I developed and find your intersection. Commit to exploring that space publicly for the next 3 to 6 months. Don't worry about having the answers. Just document your journey and then share it as if you're sharing it to a friend directly. And share it like you're talking to a friend. Your voice isn't something you find, your voice is something you develop. And you develop it by using it, not thinking about it. The creator economy doesn't need more experts. It needs more people willing to share their journey honestly. And honestly, that's more interesting anyway. We're all main characters in our own story. The question is, are you going to let other people follow you along on your quest? So what are you going to explore? And more importantly, when are you going to start sharing your exploration with the world? Because I guarantee you are further along in something than you think you are. And there is somebody out there that needs to hear exactly what you are figuring out right now. Don't wait until you're the expert. Start being the main character today. The world needs your voice, and not the voice that you think that you should have. The voice that is your main character energy. Your perspective matters. Your journey matters. Your discoveries matter. Share it. Share it. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.